Jordan here at the Bernie rally in Queens. Campaign co-chair Nina Turner. Pleasure to be with you as always. What do you think? Does this feel like kind of like a campaign, I don't know, like refresh, rebirth? It seems like this week in particular has had so much momentum, and that debate performance, I mean, even frankly, CNN, of all people, was saying Senator Sanders did very well.
Well, they couldn't resist the truth, finally. I mean, listen, this is the senator doing what he has always done. This energy and momentum is a reburning, if you will, in terms of the senator not necessarily just being back. He's been here all along. Yes, he had, a health situation, clean bill of health by the doctors, and he is back out here on the trail, really standing up for the people and for the systemic change that we need so that the majority of the people in this country have a government that answers to them and not the ultra wealthy.
I want to ask you on Medicare for All, because he was very, I've been calling personally for him to be a little more aggressive. I mean, he knocked a little 2x4 over Joe Biden, frankly, because Joe Biden is using these kind of Reagan-esque fear-mongering about Medicare for All, and Bernie pointed out, I mean, how much is the system we currently have? That was a kind of a different tone from him in the debate. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, I mean, as you know, the senator doesn't pick a fight, but when you come for him, he will answer, and that's what we saw on the fourth debate. People who are not for Medicare for All are just flat out wrong. I mean, we can't, there's no middle ground with this. So whether it's the vice president, whether it's Mayor Pete, whoever, this is real. People's lives hang in the balance. The system that we have right now that commodifies healthcare is not working. People really are dying. It is too expensive, and the costs are going to continue to go up unless we do something about it. So for people where Medicare for All doesn't move them morally, I got a news flash for them. Medicare for All will cost less over 10 years than the current system right now, and these plans, these half-measured plans that some of these other Democratic presidential candidates have. So I'm glad that Senator Sanders stood strong and tall for his Jordan. As you know, Medicare for All is his foundational issue. All those other issues matter to him, but that is his foundational issue. It's the issue that he stood strong on in 2016. So we got to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth on this. We can no longer afford to allow people to die, and that is no exaggeration. We can no longer afford to allow the pharmaceutical company to make profit off the backs and lives of people. I mean, we know folks who have rationed insulin, for example. A 26-year-old young man, or he's 26 or 27, one story of many, he died. He did not tell his parents that he was not taking his insulin, his full prescription. He was rationing his insulin, and he died at the young age of 20-something. There are many examples of people like that all over this country, young and seasoned, who are literally dying. But you talk about that all the time, dying. This is no exaggeration. You know, Governor Sarah Palin talked about death panels. You remember that book? I mean, that stuff when she was, when she was running because of ACA. They were trying to do away with ACA. Well, let me tell you something. Medicare for All, the seriousness of what people suffer in this country because of the lack of having full comprehensive health care. You want to talk about a death panel? Those are real death panels. Meanwhile, CEOs make money hand over fist, living a good life, making enough money for 5 generations to live a good life, and other people suffer no more with that.
You know, it's interesting to me, and by the way, you mentioned Mayor Pete. It came out that he actually tweeted support of Medicare for All a year ago, so he's a little flexible. You know, what's interesting to me, in the midterms, 2018, Medicare for All was in the exit polls, healthcare, 41%. People cared about that. All the polls now, everyone wants to talk about the polls when it's good for the establishment. All the polls now, healthcare is the top issue. So I would think that the person that is trusted the most on healthcare, as Bernie is polling very high as far as people trusting him on healthcare, would kind of make sense to contrast to President Trump. You don't hear that on CNN, MSNBC, and frankly, I know the campaign's not talking about it, but I will. I mean, Elizabeth Warren, she doesn't really show many receipts for, I mean, Bernie just says, yeah, your taxes will go up a little bit, but you'll save more. She kind of seems a little unwilling to even talk about her details, yet she has a plan for everything. Can you kind of talk about the top issue for everyone is health care, but they're saying Bernie, is not practical, and, this is all fanciful.
What's not practical is to keep on the same course. We're already paying for somebody else's health care, but the bottom line is we're not getting a good return on our investment because people are sick. instead of going for preventative, instead of going to their internist on the front end, they end up getting treated in the emergency room, which costs us, the American people, more. Why not have comprehensive universal health care on the front end where people get all the care that they need, like every other damn industrial nation in this world? If they can do it, this country can do it. What is impractical, what is ridiculous, what is asinine, and what we cannot accept in the 21st century? Knowing everything that we know, Jordan, we know what works in this country. We must have Medicare for all, and anything less cannot be accepted. It is morally right, it is economically right for small businesses. It helps so many businesses in this country. And one of our national surrogates, Dr. Victoria Dooley, and hopefully you'll get a chance to interview her, but she talks about how her patients, sometimes they don't even want to come and do the treatment plan that she, the doctor, gives them because they can't afford it. They know what's waiting for them on the other end. So are we going to continue to play games with people's health where they don't have access to the health care, get the health care because they are afraid of a bill? That is something that is criminal and it is immoral, and in the 21st century, we can no longer tolerate it. So Senator Bernard Sanders, by way of Brooklyn, in Vermont, is the true people's champion standing up. And as you know, he don't play games with this. He's not going to hedge. Yes, a little bit, your taxes, but you're going to be saving overall. No more copays, deductibles, and premiums on the private tax side. Those of us who are blessed to have health care, and everybody doesn't have health care. I mean, look what happened to the auto workers when they went on strike, that GM would take their damn health care away from them. Having health care tied to a job that you may or may not have today or tomorrow, or for people who don't have a job, with Medicare for all of that goes away. It is the most humane thing and the most economically sound thing that we can do in the United States of America.
I want to talk to money and politics for a second. A report just came out that Joe Biden's campaign basically is swatting away lobbyists from trying to approach him. Obviously, they know he's open for business. Elizabeth Warren has kind of been all over the place. I'm only taking money. I won't take money during the primaries. The general, I don't want to unilaterally disarm. Then she said, oh, scratch that. I'm not going to take their money in the general. Then she said, but I will raise money for the DNC, which goes to her anyway. Bernie is like, no, I'm not taking their money, period. Why is that important?
And he's going to stop the DNC when he's the nominee from taking that money.
Why is that important? Because there are progressives that are looking between Bernie and Warren. Why is it important that Bernie is refusing to do that, even raising money for the DNC?
Because it's access to the people. What the senator is saying is that this system is rotten, that people who have the most money and the most access, they get to buy access. So why not make the body politic bend to the will of the everyday people in this country? That is what he's doing. That's what he showed in 2016 when he refused to take that kind of money and raise over $230 million to compete. Right now, this campaign, 3.3 million donations have been made, grassroots donations from the people. So that means for him, his only special interest, the only interest group that he will have to answer to are people who live in Queens, people who live in Cleveland, Ohio, people who live in states like Florida, Texas. You know, you name your city, your community, that's who he's going to answer to. And that is the difference between him and everybody else. It's not kind of sort of, I'm going to take it over here, but I'm not going to take it over there. No, he's standing firm and strong to say, I'm not going to take it. And once he becomes president, to stop the DNC from taking it too. You and I were both in Philly, and you know how expensive it is for everyday people in this country to even go to conventions because they cost so much. Senators had time out for that. Stop letting people buy access, and let's make sure that we create platforms and avenues for everyday people in this country. He's not going to flinch on that, Jordan.
Two more, real quick. Flint, 5.5 years later, doesn't have clean water. Newark, New Jersey, also majority black, majority poor, lead problem. Cleveland, I covered it a few months ago, 90 kids in 1 month had high lead. You're talking Pittsburgh, Milwaukee.
Denmark, South Carolina, you name it. If it's not lead, it's other chemicals. The senator has a plan in his infrastructure plan to make sure that we redo the pipes in this country, woefully inadequate. We have not, as a nation, over the course of presidents and Congresses, not made the requisite investments in our infrastructure in this country. And something is wrong with that. There are three things that I believe that people should be guaranteed flat out. That's clean water, clean air, and clean food. And then we can add the bonus Medicare for all. That is not too much to ask. So Jordan, thank you for your coverage. Even when it's popular or not popular, you stay on this. This is a human rights crisis. We can't live without water. and it must be clean. And so we're going to continue to fight for that. And that's why Senator Sanders' infrastructure plan is the right plan. So we put people to work rebuilding the infrastructure that we need to ensure, to guarantee that people have clean water in the United States of America. And I'm sorry, George, and the racialized nature of this environmental injustice too, which is not lost on you.
And last question, are we looking at the next vice president of the United States?
Jordan, why you always do me like that?
Hey, somebody's got to ask. There's a lot of fervor out there for you. Obviously, Bernie Sanders, young people he needs to attract, Latinos, African Americans, expand the electorate. You obviously have been his champion. Would you be interested? I'll leave it at that.
I serve at the pleasure of the next president of the United States of America.
Okay. Nina Turner, thank you very much. Appreciate it.